Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, one step forwards and another step back for women in Japan after the country's Supreme Court hands down key rulings. Also, not afraid to show their faces, the Irish women who travelled abroad to obtain abortions go public. And forgotten female photographers brought to light at the Musée d'Orsay here in Paris. But we begin in Japan, where the Supreme Court has upheld a law that married couples must have the same surname. Yet the same court also ruled that a ban on women from remarrying within 6 months of a divorce violates the Constitution. A reflection perhaps of a country struggling to redefine the role of women, as Kathy Clifford reports.
They've come to symbolise the struggle for women's rights in Japan. These 4 plaintiffs arrived at the Supreme Court full of hope that their message had been heard, but this particular battle was lost.
It was beyond my abilities and I feel terrible for our supporters. Not only are we disappointed, but the plaintiffs and I are also very angry.
The court announced it would uphold a law requiring man and wife to share a surname. Though by law the man can also make the change, in reality 96% of Japanese women take their husband's name, while only 4% of men take their wives'. The plaintiffs say the law violates human rights, showing Japan lags behind other advanced nations and reflecting a still male-dominated society. One of them is 80-year-old Kyoko Tsukamoto, who wants to recover what she sees as the key to her identity before the end of her life.
My identity was Kyoko Tsukamoto. What happens to a person who loses their identity? I can't live as Kyoko Tsukamoto, and now I won't be able to die as Kyoko Tsukamoto.
The law dates back to 1898 and Japan's feudal family system, in which women and children came under control of the head of the household. Today, support for separate surnames has increased among younger people, particularly working women, but public opinion is divided.
I want our surnames to be the same, because if not, it won't feel like I'm actually married to that person.
Changing my surname is part of the changes that marriage brings, but I think it's wrong for that decision to be forced on you.
The court also ruled that women should no longer have to wait 6 months to remarry after divorce. The remarriage law was created so it would be clear which husband had fathered a baby. The court said this was outdated in the age of DNA testing, urging a waiting period of no more than 100 days. However, given that Japanese men face no such restriction, the result was barely a consolation for many of Japan's 65 million women.
Now, earlier this year, Ireland attracted world headlines over its historic vote to legalise gay marriage. But when it comes to the issue of abortion and reproductive health, it's a very different story. It's almost impossible to obtain a termination in Ireland. As a result, in the last 5 years alone, some 25,000 Irish women travelled to England or Wales to have abortions. Now, in an extraordinary move, a group of women who've done as such have posted images of their faces online. It's part of a new social media campaign to destigmatise the procedure and build support to change the law. And joining me now from Dublin is Julie Morrissey, one of the women behind the campaign. Julie, thanks so much for being with us. It's a brave move to admit to having an abortion, yet alone doing it in public and online. Who came up with the idea?
Well, actually, Annette, I came up with the idea myself, and then I got the 4 other members on board with me very quickly. I had been trying to think of ways to confront the abortion issue in Ireland because it has been so widely swept under the carpet here, and I felt that women who travel deserve to be heard, their voices should be heard, and that we should really start to confront and deal with the abortion issue here, because really abortion is a reality of Irish life, but we've essentially just exported the problem to a different country.
How hard was it to convince other women to take part, Julie?
Well, it was quite easy to convince the 4 other founding members to join me in this project. That wasn't difficult, but it took about 6 months to find the 11 participants to get them to agree to have their photo taken. So it was a lot of work, and I mean our participants really deserve all the credit. They're fantastic, groundbreaking women, and they're really forging a path for other women in Ireland to have their voices heard.
And one thing about that campaign is to show the Irish public that it's ordinary people who are being affected as such.
Absolutely, Annette. I mean, really, it's an identification problem here between women who travel for abortion services and some factions of Irish society and the Irish government. And really, it's about time that Ireland trust women in its society. And we felt that by seeing the faces of these women, they're ordinary, responsible women. They're well capable of making decisions about their own lives. And really, it's a human rights issue. So if we are going to send these women away, we should look at them. It's really important that we look at their faces.
What's been the reaction so far, Julie?
It's been overwhelmingly positive, to be honest. We haven't really had any bad reaction. I think for us and for the participants, it's been really positive. We've been contacted by a lot of individuals with messages of support. We've had huge media response, and we've had a lot of women contacting us about wanting to be in the gallery in the next group of photographs. So on all sides, we've had a great response.
Now, for somebody outside of Ireland, it seems bizarre that on one hand, the country has a very liberal stance towards homosexuality, yet on the other, it's very conservative when it comes to attitudes towards abortion.
It is confusing, and it's quite unbelievable that a country that's a member of the EU is still in this almost draconian position, I would think, in terms of abortion law. But I don't think that the abortion laws in Ireland really reflect the views of the majority of people. I don't think it certainly is a sensitive issue. I totally understand that. But the polls are now showing that the majority of people in Ireland support the repeal of the 8th Amendment, which is the constitutional provision that equates a mother's life to that of an unborn child, and that's really the huge barrier to abortion access in Ireland. So there is support for that. I don't think the laws really reflect what's happening here.
So do you think that it's possible that within a short period of time that indeed the law could change?
I think in terms of the first step of repealing the 8th Amendment, yes, I think that will change. Hopefully, the coalition to repeal the 8th Amendment have called for a referendum in 2016. I really think that should happen. I think it's important that we don't put off this issue any longer. So yes, I think that first step will be taken next year. I really am hopeful that it will.
Julie Morrissey, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Annette.
Now, since photography was invented, women have been both in front of and behind the camera, and not surprisingly, they faced a significant resistance from fellow male photographers at first. Here in Paris, the Musée d'Orsay has organised an exhibit of female photographers whose work helped make photography an art form. Shona Bhattacharya has more.
Who's Afraid of Women Photographers? That's the title of the Musée d'Orsay's latest exhibition. Created in 1839, photography is part science, part art form, and part industry. Since the start, it's been much more accessible to women than painting or sculpting, as art schools were mostly all male at the time. Like in other domains, women broke every taboo imaginable, even snapping nudes despite the potential for scandal.
Mary Willemsen,
who was Danish, took up photography to take hundreds, if not thousands, of erotic photos destined for men. She would take pictures of naked or semi-naked women in the Helgoland baths. The Danish police took an interest in her and she was arrested in 1920.
Women photographers are not only artists, they're reporters as well, who try to change the world by showing it from a different angle. After the First World War, Christina Broom's work helped reshape the image of women in society as suffragettes were demanding the right to vote.
The suffragettes used these photos as a rhetorical argument to counter the image that suffragettes were given in the press. By joining a movement or by sympathizing with it, women photographers allowed women to decide how they'd be portrayed in public and in politics.
These nudes, artistic and political photos put women photographers back in their rightful place alongside their male peers.
And that exhibition has been held at the Musée d'Orsay here in Paris until January 24 next year. And that's it for now. If you'd like to comment on what you've just seen, you can head to our Facebook page, that's France24 51%, or do send us a tweet _51%. Thanks for your feedback so far, and please keep those comments coming in. Until our next program, bye for now.